attention right up here. If you have a drink, please, we need your undivided attention. As I mentioned, if you talk during the presentation, your drinks go up twice the price. So there is an incentive to be quiet. There's also an incentive to listen to a wonderful question and answer session, and then to meet our guest for the evening, Donahue Peebles III. So please pay attention. And first I want to introduce our two questioners. Mark Paley, over 20 years of experience in real estate in New York City, with the Paley Group, a law office here in the city specializing in real estate, representing every player and actor on every side of the spectrum, from co-op boards to buyers and sellers. Michael Mintz, founder and CEO of MD Squared Property Group, currently managing over 80 buildings in New York City, formerly with First Service Residential, a man with extraordinary depth in the property market in the city. Our guest who will be questioned tonight, Donahue Peebles III, handles new acquisitions and business development for the Peebles Corporation, a company you're all very familiar with. He leads the company's DC operations and has been involved in the day-to-day development of the SLS Hotel and Residences. He is specialized in real estate with a BA from Columbia in economics. He is very philanthropic and participates in many very wonderful causes that you should be also involved with here in the city, the New York City Mission Society, Best Buddies, Harlem Mothers, SAVE. I'm going to turn the microphone over now to Michael and Mark, who will question Donahue. Please, I ask you once again, please be quiet and listen to our presenter, listen to the questions, and you'll all be better off for it. I'm turning the microphone over.
Good evening, everybody. Hi. Good evening. I'd like to get everybody quiet before I begin. Thank you so much. You guys don't likely know me, Mark Paley. I'm an attorney in New York City, but I'm here to talk about Donahue. Peebles, excuse me. His father started his corporation, not quite sure what year.
In 1985.
1985. But his son is right here, Donahue, also named Donahue, right?
That's exactly right.
He's 25 years old, and I had a whole script of stuff, but I wanted to just screw this script. I had some better questions to ask. Top question I want to know is, a guy like you, 25 years old, just a few days ago you told me happy birthday. What the hell are you doing working with your dad? I mean, this is like such a unique thing to be in a company such as your dad's, to have you working with him. And from what I understand, from what you've told me briefly, you handle low-income tax credits and affordable housing, which is the complete opposite of what your dad does, which is luxury condos and I believe hospitality. So could you tell me why it is that you're doing the exact opposite? Is that a rebellious thing, or how did you come to be working for your dad? And tell us about yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, first of all, can everybody see me, or would it be easier if I walked up front?
I can see you.
Perfect. So, look, so it's interesting. Somebody once said, you can only take advantage of the opportunity of a lifetime within the lifetime of the opportunity. And that's what working with your family is like. Now, not like I had very much of a choice, frankly. Growing up, I learned addition and subtraction on P&Ls. And the day I learned in 4th grade, long division, how to carry the number and all that sort of stuff I've forgotten since then, that's the same day I learned what a cap rate was. So my father kept me involved in the business very early on. So by the time I'd gotten to high school, I knew what I wanted to do. I went to college in New York at Columbia, and I worked all the way through school. And it's there that I found this interest on how private activity can solve for public problems. And affordable housing being the most pressing issue in urban America, I said, why not focus on something like that? Now, of course, as you mentioned, it's a rebellious thing. A lot of fathers and sons who work together, end up at odds in some respect. But my father and I, been able to cultivate an incredible relationship built off of mutual respect and communication. So from my perspective, it's been an incredible opportunity to be able to learn from somebody who's so successful in their field. I mean, think about it. Everybody in here has a mentor. Everybody. And to be able to sit across the dinner table from your mentor every day and learn from him every day and know without a shadow of a doubt that this man has your best interest at heart, I mean, that's something that people would kill for. And frankly, I mean, it's always interesting, when I run into people and they say, Don, you've been given this incredible opportunity. I would kill to be in the spot that you're in. And I always think to myself, well, kill who? Right? Kill me? And so I always think of it like, I got this, if we're running a 4-lap race, right? I got this 1-lap head start. Maybe I got a 2-lap head start. But if I run too slow, somebody hungrier than me, somebody faster than me is going to go ahead and catch me. So I'm out here thinking, I've got to run as fast as I can, right? And maybe set a record. So from my perspective, it's an incredible opportunity, I guess, to answer your question. But something that you have to earn every day, that you show up to work and you make sure that you do the opportunity justice every day.
Right on.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for that. We're going to leave it to Michael Mintz now to ask a question.
So I didn't actually prep you with this question, but I was just thinking it right now. Speaking about affordable housing, so in New York, right now in June, we have the rent regulations expiring at the end of June in New York. So there's been a lot of talk about what Albany is going to do and how they're going to change affordable housing and rent stabilization specifically in New York. I know you mentioned that you do a lot of work working with municipalities to ultimately try to fix the affordable housing problem. So I'm just wondering, what are some of your ideas and what are some of the ways in the past that you've been successful in fixing affordable housing, and how could other landlords in New York apply those to try to help solve the problem in New York versus being the enemy, which the legislator looks at us like right now?
Absolutely. That's a great question. Look, politicians and constituents love to lay the issue of affordable housing at the feet of greedy landlords and, greedy developers and corrupt politicians. But the truth is, the real cause of affordable housing, if you live in the West Village or you live on the Upper East Side, isn't the developers or the greedy landlords. It's your neighbors. Affordable housing is a consequence of an artificial supply constraint and artificial barriers to entry, far more than it's a consequence of greed. In fact, I know it's bad form in New York to quote Gordon Gekko, but greed is good, and greed can be utilized to solve the affordable housing crisis. Imagine a New York City where we removed some of the artificial barriers to density. No more ULURP process taking you 18 months. No more historic preservation review board. Just build as high as you can, as high as the market demands. All of us in here would flood the market with luxury condominiums, more so than it is already, and the supply would finally be able to meet the demand and prices would fall. What we're doing now by extending rent stabilization or making it more pernicious against developers or making it more challenging to build density without an affordable component is the equivalent of trying to empty the Hudson River with like a tablespoon. It's ridiculous and absurd. If we want to solve affordable housing, if we're truly serious about something like that, then we use the market to solve those problems, and we say, no more artificial supply constraints. Let's eliminate these artificial restrictions of density and let developers do what we do best, which is build.
So I had a question to ask you about development. I understand you guys are doing a property in Tribeca at 108 Leonard Street, high-end condo development. Just curious of your take on the New York market, considering that there's been a little bit of a downturn lately from some of the clients that I hear about. as well as this new law from New York State that's now going to impose mansion tax and transfer tax at even higher rates than where they are now, which will obviously affect the price points of your condos. What's your opinion about these the law and the market, and where do you see things going?
Absolutely. Well, given all the deal making that's going on in the back, I've got to say that the housing market in New York should be doing just fine. Now, I know you all are back there closing some condo sales on 432 Park, but leave one for me. Frankly, what I think the issue is, and I think that New York City always has pent-up demand. I think the challenge is that developers have gotten their basis wrong. Right, when you lock your basis in at a time when condos are selling for $3,200, $3,500 a square foot, and that's what your pricing assumptions underlie, then of course you're in trouble when there's a market pullback. But relative to the rest of the country, New York City is still a safe bet. People say real estate's location, 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 and I agree, to some degree it is. But right under that is basis, basis, basis. And if you get your basis wrong, then your condo sales, going to be very, very challenging for you. I mean, look, now there's more competition. So the buildings that do well are the buildings that are heavily amenitized and unique. No longer does it suffice to make a simply cookie-cutter building and expect people to be chomping at the bit. You're seeing the ruble exchange to the dollar in a negative way. You're seeing crude prices down. You're seeing restrictions on Chinese import of capital. They're going to markets like Vancouver.
Donahue, thank you, Mark and Michael. And they will be available to speak to you one-on-one and enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you all for coming to REDinNYC for this wonderful April event.